Do you believe in the future of on-chain commerce? Well, if you do, you should also not neglect the future of on-chain sales taxes because as we see the proliferation of on-chain commerce, we are going to be dealing heavily with this emerging tax issue. And this is something that I've been focusing on for some time. So, what I want to go over in today's video is the tax landscape related to on chain sales taxes and to go over a compliance roadmap for you if you are transacting on chain, selling goods or services or digital products online where sales taxes apply. So, firstly, a lot of people are just completely neglecting sales taxes right now, similarly to how a decade ago, when e commerce was first really proliferating, there was everyone was neglecting sales taxes for transactions that were happening virtually across state lines. What we're going to see is that similarly to how existing sales tax rules apply to internet based transactions, these are also going to apply to on chain transactions. And just like we've seen the Wayfair decision for the internet based transactions that clarified rules for sellers and marketplace facilitators on the internet, I'm anticipating that we're going to see that as well for on chain transactions and Web3. I believe that this is such a big emerging tax issue in Web3 that I actually wrote a book on this topic. And I encourage you to go check that out because it'll go into much deeper detail than I'm able to do on a video. So that book is available on Amazon. It's called Navigating the NFT Sales Tax Maze, Wayfair 2.0 for Web 3.0. So I would encourage you to check that out if you really want state by state level details and analysis regarding this tax issue. So, where are we going to see sales taxes apply on chain? Firstly, we've seen several states clarify that standalone NFTs are going to be taxable for sales tax purposes. And I anticipate that many other states will clarify this in the future. Particularly, we have well over 30 states that tax digital products and goods. And based off of my analysis, it's likely that those definitions are going to include NFTs. And we've again seen clarification from states such as Washington, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and others where they have already included NFTs in that definition. So if you're selling NFTs or if you're a marketplace that's facilitating the sales of NFTs, then right off the bat, you already should be collecting and remitting sales taxes because these are fitting into the definitions of types of products and goods that can have sales tax exposure on it. So if you're selling standalone NFTs, you need to be considering the sales tax component to it. If you're selling NFTs that are representing on-chain other goods that are potentially off-chain, these can have tax exposure as well. What we've seen so far with current guidance is that you're going to have to look at what the NFT represents. What is the underlying product or service or asset that the NFT represents? And generally speaking, if that is going to be taxable for sales tax purposes in that state, the NFT likely is going to be as well. We've seen clarification regarding this look through approach at the underlying nature of the NFT in states like Washington, in states like Minnesota, and others. So, of course, we need further clarification from every single state on this, but the states we've seen so far, they're going to look at the underlying nature of the NFT, see if this fits into any of their taxable goods or services, and if it does, levy sales taxes on that NFT. So if you are using NFTs to represent other goods or services on chain, it's likely that you can have a tax exposure from this perspective as well. If you are creating SaaS businesses, these can also have tax exposure and obviously sales tax exposure. And obviously, we see a lot of this in Web3. So, this is another area where If you have a SaaS related business, depending on which state you're in, this can also have a sales tax exposure to it. Also, if you are just going to be selling goods and transacting on chain, maybe you're going to sell merchandise or you're going to sell artwork or something that the transaction is taking place on chain and then you send them whatever the good is. If these have sales tax exposure based off of what it is that you're selling in that state, if it's defined as a taxable product, you're also going to have to collect sales taxes on these transactions as well. So as we start to see, more e-commerce come on chain, this is going to be a big factor in this as well. So, the next question becomes who has to pay these sales taxes? Sales taxes are usually collected by the seller at the point of sale from the customer and then remitted to the state sales tax department. So really, you as the seller should be collecting the sales taxes from your customer at the point of sale and then remitting them to the state sales tax agency on a periodic basis based off of their requirements, which vary state to state. Some can be monthly, some can be quarterly. So really, the responsibility is on you as a seller to be collecting that. And the audit risk is very high if you as a seller are not collecting them. Similarly, there is also a requirement on marketplaces themselves because they're defined as marketplace facilitators, to also be collecting sales taxes. So there is a big audit risk and a requirement to collect sales taxes at both the marketplace level and at the level of the seller. So they need to be properly collecting and remitting sales taxes, or you could run into huge compliance issues related to this. So, number one, if you don't collect sales taxes and you undergo an audit, you can be paying out of pocket for these sales taxes because they were never collected from your customer, but you'll still owe them. And you'll have to pay penalties and interest on them. So this can be a huge blow to your bottom line. Additionally, this can lead to negative publicity regarding the fact that you are not paying your taxes and potential legal repercussions up to and including having your business activity paused by the state. So, also another risk associated with this is that your customers themselves may have a use tax exposure if you're not properly collecting and remitting sales taxes. So you can even create compliance burdens on your buyers and on your customers as well. So, these are the real risks associated with not collecting sales taxes. But because sales taxes is such a new emerging tax issue, there are substantial challenges as well when it comes to collecting and remitting sales taxes. First of all, it's the nature of the industry we're in ourselves. There is a pseudonymous nature to most wallets that people are transacting with, meaning they don't have an identity necessarily tied to a non-custodial wallet, and many aren't inclined to attach their identity to it because they like the pseudonymity associated with it. But you as a seller or as a marketplace facilitator, if you're going to properly collect and remit sales taxes, you're going to have to calculate rooftop accurate sales tax rates. And the way that you do this is by collecting the address from the buyer. And with the information of the address and the information of you as the seller with your address, you can start to determine sourcing, nexus, and the taxability related to what you're selling and then the overall tax rate of it. But the key first is getting this information from the buyer, which can be troublesome for many reasons. But one is that your customers, you may get some pushback with it because they're not going to be that inclined to give it. So that is really the first challenge, is making sure that you're able to collect this information. And, if we're talking about a store that you're setting up on chain or selling NFTs on chain, the volume at which you're going to have to collect this data in real time can quickly get to a sizable number. So you need an automated system that can collect this information from your buyer. What is your wallet address? What is your physical address? And then step number 2 is you need a system that in real time can calculate, is the sale taxable? What is the sales tax rate? And then return all this information to your customer at the front end before they make a decision to buy or not to buy, or to mint or not to mint. So you need to be collecting all of their information in real time, calculating the sales taxes in real time, and delivering them this information so they can make a decision to buy. Then what you need to be doing on the back end after a purchase takes place is you need to be collecting all this information for tax reporting purposes. You need to collect all the information related to your buyer, related to the sale itself, and related to the transaction that is on the blockchain. Once you collect all this information, the final step is preparing and filing the sales tax returns that will help facilitate you properly remitting these sales taxes to the sales tax agency. So as you can see, this is going to be a big issue as we move forward and we start to see the proliferation of on-chain commerce and the next wave of NFT sales that are going to be taking place. So you need to get a system in place now to avoid these tax issues that are just building up with each transaction that you conduct. And you need to do this in a way where it's automated. And at Camuso CPA, we have built the first Web3 sales tax software that facilitates this whole process, from collecting your customer data to calculating the sales taxes on chain in real time in your native cryptocurrency, and then collecting all of the backend data for tax reporting purposes related to the sale, the customer, and the blockchain data. So we have built a full system that you can integrate into your platform in order to make this a seamless process for your customers, while making sure that you're staying tax compliant and you're protecting your bottom line. So the software we created is called Digital Impost. You can visit digitalimpost.com if you want to check out that software. If you need general advice related to sales taxes, or if you want to discuss the software and how we can implement this into your marketplace or your website or your store, you can feel free to contact me and my team at digitalimpost.com, or you can also contact me at camusocpa.com, because at the end of the day, our firm is working with Web3 businesses on sales tax issues, accounting issues, many issues that you as a Web3 business are going to need. So if you're looking for sales tax assistance, contact me and my team today. And if you're looking for a Web3 sales tax software, reach out to us. We'd be happy to discuss that as well. So visit digitalimpost.com and I'd be happy to speak with you.